Hey, family, today I am excited that we have someone who is a very talented individual, which you will learn a little bit more about in just a moment. But he has a beautiful heart. He has a desire to be helpful to a special category of parent in particular. And he's an expert in technology. He builds those crazy little things called funnels that make the world go round. And I'm glad that I was fortunate enough to be able to make his acquaintance at a conference and be able to introduce him to you. So without further ado, let us welcome Tim Pitsenbarger.
Hey, thank you so much, man. I really appreciate that. Very kind of you.
Well, first of all, I know you as this funnel master, ClickFunnels guru person, but for my audience, and this is their first time hearing or discovering about you, tell us a little bit about yourself. Who is Tim?
Yeah, well, I mean, going from this way, way back, I was born in Chicago, but moved to Puerto Rico when I was 4 years old. My parents wanted to move out there. Lived there till I was about to turn 22 years old. So pretty much most of my life, I've never been to school in the U.S., believe it or not.
Wow.
Yeah, it's really interesting. And then I moved over here to Florida, Tampa, Florida specifically, because I came down here. I think I had mentioned to you when we met, I used to play drums. I mean, I'm still a drummer. I guess you don't really stop it, but I haven't played in a few years. But I was very actively playing in bands and everything. And we came down here to Florida to play a few shows. And this one specific area I live in, I really fell in love with it. I was like, I want to move down here. So I called my wife, who was my girlfriend at the time. And literally, it was like, I didn't propose to her over the phone, but it was kind of the same deal. I'm like, hey, obviously, we're very serious. She goes, yes. So there's plans on marriage in the near future. She goes, yes. Would you be daring to move to the US with me? She goes, yeah. And that was kind of it. We kind of planned our marriage and everything based on that. And long story short, we moved here to Florida. Before the world of marketing, I worked for almost 9.5 years in the automotive industry, like in the auto parts industry.
Yeah.
And I was what you call a commercial account manager, basically make like the business to business part of it. Making sure all the shops would buy from us and stuff. And to be honest, it became miserable. It was a miserable job. And the desperation of wanting to find something was actually what led me to the marketing world. Like I was looking at the magazines of like entrepreneurship and stuff at a grocery store. And I found this one story of this one individual. And that's what led me down the rabbit hole of marketing. That was in 2013. And ever since I've been hooked.
So you were in the job and you weren't happy. You were frustrated, and then you learned about an entrepreneurial opportunity. What specifically was the opportunity?
Yeah, I mean, if you like the company is no longer in business, but it was a multi-level marketing thing. But at that point, I had never heard about anything like that, and I started to get into it and stuff. Failed miserably at it, but like as a lot of us do when we're starting out. However, that itch was there. I discovered this thing, like where you could have stuff running 24/7 on the internet for you if you set it up right. But it was your typical multi-level marketing company.
Okay.
Honestly, didn't make any money with it, in that first adventure, but it was still, it did enough to where like, I'm going to pursue this regardless of whatever it is.
So it planted a seed that it's possible either as a side hustle or even as something that eventually you could do full time, that you can be an entrepreneur. And was it selling products online that drew your attention, or what was it?
I think it was more about, yes, for one, the whole concept of selling something digital that you could create like from scratch. I fell in love with the whole thing about landing, them creating landing pages, even though I didn't get in there or anything. And I'm like, this is crazy. You could just put a link out there.
Landing pages. Okay. So for my audience, so this is the Change Podcast, and for my community, I have a lot of faith-based entrepreneurs who are trying to figure out, how do I use social media to connect with the people I want to serve? And so I want to make sure that they understand these terms that you're using. So
Mhm.
what is a landing page?
If you've ever been like, say, if you come across something maybe on Facebook or anywhere on the internet, really, and it piques your interest, right? Maybe it's an ad like a commercial or something you would see on the internet, and you click on it, and it tells you to put in your name and email address in exchange for something.
Yeah.
That's basically what a landing page is, where wherever you're exchanging your information in order to receive whatever it is that's being offered to you.
Okay, so why would Sally, who is a life coach, why would Sally want to know about landing pages?
Because that's how you really get leads. Like a lot of people that aren't familiar with it are still like they're still thinking a really old school method. Like a lot of people still, and it's crazy, I still see it to this day. They think that, okay, I started a business, I'm gonna go invest in a magnet and I'm gonna stick it to the side of my car. And hopefully in my little neighborhood I drive around, it's gonna conquer the world. Versus if it's a landing page online, of course there's marketing and everything that goes to it, because you got to get eyes on it. You can have the whole world, or at least start in your own country. You can have the whole country finding you, and as far as business growth, it's going to grow way more than you just putting a sign maybe on your car or in front of your house or something.
Okay, so I think especially because some of the people that I serve, my avatar is in their middle life passage. And so many of them are still stuck in the ideas of the past, like what you're saying, like do we use direct mail or do we put a magnet in our car? So why is a landing page superior than what we used to have? What can you do that the other stuff couldn't do?
Well, for one, it's like a big part of marketing is like you want to, like they tell you in all kind of trainings, you want to go where your audience is. Your audience meaning someone that will like what you have to offer or needs what you have to offer.
Yeah.
And as we want to admit it or not, we are hooked on scrolling. You're on your phone anyway. Everyone is. You see it in traffic. People are on their phone. So you want to let people find out about you. It's like picture it. It's like, and this is more on the marketing side versus just the landing page. But whenever I teach people like about creating ads, for example, I always explain to them, like, think about it. I call it the bird feeder rule.
Okay.
And what do I mean by that? It's like, imagine if you were into bird watching. I know it's the most random thing possible, but it came to mind one day and I ran with it.
I am into bird watching.
Okay, perfect. So imagine if you saw this beautiful bird and you wanted to see it up closer. What would happen if you poured a ton of seed in your hand and went to it? The bird's gonna be like, I'm out. This is gonna fly away, right? However, if you put a bird feeder out there and let the bird think they discovered it, they're gonna get close to it. And they're going to partake of eating of the seed and everything. And you're behind the scenes watching, in this case, getting what you wanted out of it, which is to see the bird. It's the same thing with marketing. If you put yourself out there in a way where they discover you, where you're not approaching them, where you're not, getting in their private messages and trying to pitch them something, you're going to see a huge turnaround in your business because ego plays a part in it. Like you could literally, like I could probably watch a video of yours, and I say yours like in general, not specifically you, but you could literally put a post out there and mention something, and I could realize, wow, I got exactly what this person needs. If I go and I direct message them, no one likes to be sold. No one likes it, so it could literally be exactly what the person needs, and they're gonna be like, this is weird. This is suspicious. I'm not going to even acknowledge it. However, if you put an ad out there and that person, even though you target them specifically, you know that they're going to see it. If they believe in their subconscious that they discovered it and they're making the decision of partaking in it, you still made the sale or you gained the lead or whatever you want to, whatever your goal is,
Yeah.
So kind of went down a rabbit hole there, but.
Okay, but this is really helpful because I want to make sure I have a burden in my heart because I've been blessed to have over 1.5 million followers online. But my followers, some of them are in the remotest parts of the world, and they may not have access to brilliant professionals like yourself that they can use to help them get started. with, reaching out to people online. So I appreciate you giving us your time today and helping us to understand what it is that we need to do. So it sounds to me like you're saying we want to become discoverable for the people we want to serve. We
Absolutely.
don't want them to feel like we're desperate and we're trying to pursue them in their DMs, but we want to let them know, hey, we have a value and it's soothing to your pain points, it's solving your problem. But I'm just letting you know, hey, I have this. It's because it's something you need, but no pressure. So you're putting it out there in a way that will allow them to know to come to you for the solution, but will not give them the creeps because they feel like you're desperate.
Absolutely. And if I could add a more, I guess, like a technical thing, and I can't take credit for this, this is actually the wording of it is something I learned from Myron Golden, and I think it makes so much sense. And he probably even mentioned it at the conference we were at. I'm not 100% sure because I've heard him say it before, like in a more private setting. But when it comes to like your messaging, he's very strong on leading people away from pain versus leading them towards pleasure.
Yeah.
So in a technical writing standpoint, like let's say you do create your landing page, right? And your message is out there. Let's say if, I don't know, something that comes to mind, like don't write 7 ways to make $1 million, right? Because that's leading them to pleasure. You could do 7 mistakes you're making that's keeping you from making $1 million. You're pulling them from pain. And if that still didn't click, he explains it in another way. He goes, imagine if you're at the grocery store at a gas station and there's this one guy in the corner with a $100 bill. And he's like, free $100 bills. You're not going to go get it. You're just not. You're going to be like, this is weird, suspicious. It's just weird. Right. However, if right there at that moment, something horrible happens to you, you trip, a car hits you or something, you bash your head, you're bleeding from your skull.
Yeah.
And that same guy comes to you, picks you up, pulls a handkerchief from his pocket, gives it to you to dry your face, you're going to take it. The same guy could be like, here, let me have your phone so I could call 911. You tell him the password to your phone.
Yeah.
Without even thinking about it. And it's the same guy that was offering you $100 for free. Right. Yeah. But because you'll trust someone more to take you and lead you away from pain versus try to take you to pleasure. And once you explain it like that, I'm like, that's where it really clicked. Because I've heard it similar with the whole writing part, but when he explained it that way, I'm like, that makes total sense because it's how the brain works.
So I guess I should add to your credits that not only are you on the technical side of things, helping us to build landing pages or funnels, and by the way, I'm hoping you'll help me know what the difference between those two is, but also you are a copywriter.
A little bit. I wouldn't dare to say, because like it's one of those things when you I'm actually good at something, then you meet someone that's really, really good at it and you're like, okay, I could do all right. But yeah, I have a few friends that are like really, really good copywriters. I'm like, that's impressive. And they explain things to me in a way that I'm like, yes, I will make that change. Like little tweaks in there. But yeah, I do enjoy the copywriting aspect of it. I just wouldn't dare to say like, hey, I'm your guy,
Okay, I appreciate the honesty.
Oh, of course.
So now I'm wanting to give even more clarity. So we have a landing page. That's the place that we come to, and I guess we give our email address in exchange for something.
Mm-hmm.
Like we give our email address in exchange for do you give us something free? And then what's the difference between that and a funnel? Like,
so
are they the same thing?
It's yes and no. It depends how big your funnel is. Because your funnel could just be a landing page where you ask for someone's email address, and then once they do so, you can say thank you. Your XYZ is on its way to your email address, right? Whatever you offered in exchange for their email. So if that's all you have at the moment, technically that is your funnel. Because like the reason they call it a funnel, technically it's a ton of pages. Like it looks like a website, right? If you just land on it, you're like, okay, what's the difference? The difference between a funnel and a website is very busy. They try to tell you everything about what they are. The company that you're looking at.
Yeah.
And click here and click there and click there. And by the time you're done, you leave without doing anything because there were so many distractions, right?
Right.
You were looking around, someone ring your doorbell, you lost train of thought, and that's it. A
Yeah.
funnel is focused on the one thing that made you want to land or click on the link, right?
Yeah.
Even though you have many other things to offer, you just want to focus on that one thing that caught their attention. So that's why they call it a funnel. Picture an actual funnel that you pour oil in.
Okay.
It's wide on the top, narrows really thin down to the bottom, right? Why? Because if you're putting oil and that hole is really big, it's very easy to get in. You're not going to make a mess, right? But the goal isn't to stay up there, it's to get down in that little hole into the destination it needs to reach, right? So in business and marketing funnels or sales funnels, whatever you want to call it, it's the same thing. They start with something easy, which first is, hey, put in your email address. Like, say if you're into, I don't know, planting things. Oh, look, here's an ad on how 7 mistakes you're making that's keeping your tomatoes from growing. I don't know, right? And you could probably, and let's say you have a course that's like $1,000 on gardening. You're not going to mention the course there. You're going to say 7 tips to keep you from killing your tomatoes or whatever you want to put in exchange for the email. Because when they put in their email address, that PDF, that free guide or whatever it is going to be emailed to them.
Okay, so that free guide, is that what they call a lead magnet?
Yeah. Yep, a lead magnet. It's the magnet. And for those like they don't widely call it a lead magnet. Literally, like, take a second and think about it. It's a magnet. They want the people to become a lead. A lead is someone who opts in. Okay. Opts in meaning puts their email address in, right? Okay. So once they do that, they become a lead. So the reason they call it a lead magnet is because, well, a magnet attracts something. That's the whole thing. So you're attracting it. So you're attracting that person into becoming a lead, right? Okay. So once they put in their email address, you let them know, hey, congratulations, your free guide is on its way. And here's where the funnel begins. He goes, but before you go, if you're into gardening and you're facing these, XYZ troubles with your tomatoes, watch the video below. Like, huh? So they watch the video. And in that video, you give a ton of knowledge, right? A ton of value. And they say, if you're interested in fixing this problem, we have an amazing offer for you. You see? And then you offer something there that they could purchase or sign up for or something. Yeah. And if you notice, the more you go down the funnel, the more narrow it gets. And the higher the value gets of, for you as the owner of the funnel, because you're offering stuff to them. Right? Okay. Because at the beginning, your goal is to collect a yes, and them putting in their email address is a yes. Okay. If you compare it to public speaking, if you take any course on public speaking or you see your favorite public speaker, if you notice as they're talking, they go, right? Yes. Can I get a yes? Yes.
Right. Okay. So they're getting you to nod.
Yes.
And go along with them on the journey. Okay.
You could achieve the same thing in your business and marketing process. You want to give it easy, affirmative actions. They saw the ad, them deciding to read that ad or watch a video, click on it. That's a positive action. They said yes, technically. Them then deciding to put their email address in. That's saying yes again. Okay. So on the back end of that, you offer something that's not very expensive necessarily, something right in the middle. You're like, you know what? Sure, I'll buy that. And then in a funnel, once they're in that sales process already, I don't know if you've heard, I'm sure you've heard like the term like upsales and everything.
Okay, so explain that for us. Upsell.
Yeah. So basically, like once you buy the thing, so you first put in your email address, you became a lead. Now the goal as a business owner is to get that person to become a customer. Okay. A customer in general. That's why usually the first thing that you see is something pretty low cost. I don't want to say cheap because I feel like cheap diminishes the value of something. Okay. But it's something of low cost, something like that's like a like a no-brainer. Sure, I'll spend $7 here. Okay. Because now they became a customer. Right. So an upsell, it could be, hey, and I'll give you a perfect, I know we were talking about flowers or like gardening and stuff, but when I first saw this, believe it or not, it was related to chicken cages.
Chicken cages?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. It was this farmer guy that was using, and he's so basically his guide was on how to like the 7 mistakes you make when you're trying to build a chicken cage or something, right? Then the first thing that he offers was like a blueprint on how to build the cage. So they will buy that like for $7.
Okay.
The upsell, and the reason they call it an upsell is because the way the funnel works, since people already put their credit card in,
Yeah.
if they want to buy the next thing, they just click a button and it adds it to the order.
Got you.
They don't have to put their credit card in or anything. Like you want to make it easy for them to say yes.
Okay.
Right. So the upsell was like, okay, so they bought the blueprint. The upsell was like, hey, one of the hardest things to get started is having the tools to measure everything, having the material to cut, the tools to cut the material, having to go to the local hardware store and buy the stuff. To avoid all that headache, we put together a package for you with the measurements already done. You just order it and put it together. You're like, oh my, yeah, of course I'm going to get that. Upsell, click. They get that. On the next page, if you have something to offer, you can make another upsell. Hey, congratulations, your package is going to be sent to you very soon. But before we package that together for you, one of the worst things that happen to farmers is they don't have the right lighting and their eggs die.
Oh, wow.
And it's like, don't make that mistake. Don't play any guessing games. After years of research, we put together the best lighting package possible. You can add this to your order for this an additional $97 or something. Like, of course I need that. I'm not going to waste my money on all this and then my eggs die.
Yeah.
Click. So that's basically, and if you think about it, it's going down the funnel. And then on the back end, you could, I don't know, offer like a continuity product. Continuity meaning something that they pay for monthly, like a membership area / Facebook group that doesn't cost you anything, but you could charge people to be part of it for every day or once a week coaching or something, just to make sure they're maintaining their chickens or their plants correctly.
Got you. Wow. So a funnel then is a system of landing pages and, I don't know, links maybe?
Order pages.
Okay. Landing pages, order pages, and the links maybe that send you from one place to another, whereby you can get a large group of people some free information, and you can offer from that large group of people who decided to receive the free information something of low cost, maybe $7, that will give them added value. And then there's a smaller number of people that take advantage of that. And then from the people who spent $7, you can give them something of greater value, maybe $97. And then of those people, before they go, you can offer them even something, you said a continuity, like a private Facebook group where they'll get information on how to use that $97 and $7 product. So that whole community of value that you connected together, that's the funnel?
Yeah, basically. It's basically like, you could look at it like, it's because like at first maybe some people hear that and they probably think, oh, that's tricky. That's being tricky to people. No. If they're into what the funnel is offering, you're not tricking them into anything. You're actually giving them a handheld experience. Like, it's like having your own salesperson holding you by the hand and saying, okay, so you're new at this, right? So the first thing you're going to need is this. But if you do this, you're going to want to include this other thing, because if you don't have it, you're going to waste your money, because your plants are going to die, your chickens or whatever. And it really helps people that are, if they're just getting into something, whenever you're new at something, you feel lost, right? You're like, I don't know where to start. A funnel literally guides you down into it. It's not that you're being tricky and trying to be, oh, let me trick them into buying this now. No, they're good. It's something that they would have to buy. Like, if you ever go to a hardware store, Home Depot, or, I don't know, depending on where everyone's at, they probably have their own, but you usually don't go to buy one thing. It's associated to something, and a funnel helps them do that. And as far as an automation side of things, it just doesn't end there, because like, this is way down into the technical rabbit hole of things. We could be here all day talking about it, but another reason it's done in steps is because on a remarketing part of it, remarketing meaning reaching out to people again that saw your product but maybe didn't purchase.
Okay.
Since it's done on steps, you could do a ton of really cool automated actions. Meaning, like, let's say if you opt into my funnel, you got the free guide. Maybe you bought the $7 product, but when you got to the $97 product, for some reason you're like, I'm not sure. I'm interested in this, but I'm not going to do it right now because I'm waiting to get paid on Friday or something, right? So you back out.
Yeah.
You could put in the system and be like, okay, in 24 hours, I want to have an email that you just created once. Go out to the person who bought this, but did not buy this, and remind them. It's like, hey, we noticed that you were checking this out, but didn't do anything with it. We totally get it. If you're still interested, click here and buy it. 48 hours after that, they still didn't buy it. You could automate it to where another email goes out and say, hey, we noticed that you still didn't actually take action. Just in case, we wanted to offer you an additional 10% off.
Wow.
And it's all automated,
So when you say that it's all automated, I'm hoping my audience will hear what you're saying when you say it's all automated. Many of us, and then especially in the faith-based community, I think many of us are afraid of technology. We're afraid of automation. We're afraid of artificial intelligence. But in reality, it seems that, one, it's going to make your life better. It's almost like having a team of people working for you, but it's just machines or software that's working for you rather than actual people. And it would seem to me that we would be wise or prudent to learn about it and start using it, because if we don't, the people who do they're going to be able to reach so many more people than we are and serve so many more people that eventually, if we don't watch it, we might not be able to be in business. Is that a correct assessment?
Sure, absolutely. Definitely.
Well, I really I'm excited about all the information that you're giving. And if you're open to it, I want to invite you to come back again, because there is something special that I'd just like you to touch on a little bit today. And then I want you to tell my audience, how can they get in contact with you? If there's an entrepreneur out there and or established business and they want to outsource someone to build what you just described, I would love for them to know about your website so that they can connect with you. But in fact, maybe you should give us that information, and then I want to ask you about what's on your hat.
Absolutely. So if you just look up actually NIQpreneur, if you have a tough time spelling it, it's just like the word entrepreneur, but at the beginning it says NIQ. You'll be able to find me pretty much everywhere on Instagram and everything. Actually, right before jumping on this call with you, I actually created something that's a quick landing page, because I'm actually in the process of creating a course that I'm almost done with. But I wanted to do something special, and I want to offer your audience half off on the price. It is going to be a $997 product, but I want to offer it for half off. So if you go to funnelpit.com/DavidG,
okay,
it's going to have you go in and put in your email address just to get on a waiting list. Once it's done, I'm going to send you an email and let you know that it's done. And again, that's literally just for here. I'm not going to be offering it half off anywhere else. But if you're interested, it's going to literally walk you through everything on how to create a funnel, how to integrate payment processing, email processing, domains, all that stuff. Honestly, literally things that people hire me at $1,000 an hour to do for their business. I'm going to walk you through how to do it. And once you learn how to do it, you can start doing it for other businesses. And if you don't have a business idea, this is a great business to actually do.
Wow.
It's little by little turned into pretty much almost the main thing I'm doing.
Wow.
So if you go there again, funnelpit.com/DavidG. So I know it came from your audience. Just get in the waiting list and we'll do a ton of cool stuff there.
Wow. You all, this is a great opportunity. And I am hoping that for that person who's been trying to figure out, like, what on earth is a funnel? I know I need it. And maybe you got going in business, maybe even 20 years ago. Maybe you started and then you see all the other people coming up around you and they're using all these other things that you really weren't into because that wasn't the technology when you started. This is an opportunity for you. Please take
Absolutely.
advantage of this opportunity, because I want you to know that on this podcast, and when I bring people to my online community, I bring people of faith, people of character who you can trust, who are excellent at what they do and who are conscientious about the value that they provide. So thank you so much for that special offer for our community.
Absolutely. And just kind of to confirm what you were just saying, most of in the past several months, especially, I've noticed that most of the customers I've gained are in that world that you just described, that they've been doing business for a while and they're actually doing well. But they always come to me. It's like, I've heard about funnels. I know I need one. I just don't get it. I've tried it a few times. I just don't know where to start, where to end and everything. And it's definitely like 100%, like you just said. It's like they're doing well in business, or they have a business that maybe isn't doing too great, and they know they just need to add that one little tweak to it. And once they do, they see practically almost overnight changes.
Wow.
It's like it brings them into the current times,
Mm.
And believe it or not, it's like several of them aren't online businesses. They're brick
Really?
and mortar. Oh, there's a ton of them that are brick and mortar business, like have
Mm.
actual offices.
Mm.
They're like in the health and wellness stuff where they actually have customers like skincare and stuff.
Yeah.
But they add that digital online aspect to it to draw in more customers into their business, and it's life changing for them.
Mm.
So
Wow. Well, thank you very much. I'm hoping a couple things. I'm hoping that if someone has not gotten started yet and they don't know where to go, that you will take in mind, you will start with the end in mind. I was, as many of you know, I help people learn how to be successful at creating content that grabs people's attention. And so one of the workshops that I've subscribed to was talking about the importance of using visual metaphor as a tool to keep people engaged with your content. So I was learning about that, and then someone who I interviewed on this podcast, um, Brendan Kane, he was also talking, and this is his company that does this. He was also talking in a video about starting with the end in mind. Like, I think too many times people don't think about how do I want my customer to feel when I post something online. So how do I want them to feel? And then what action do I want them to take? But do that at the beginning before you plan the content.
mhm.
People who are creating YouTube videos, often it's coming up with the concept, the people, the Mr. Beasts of the world who are the most successful. It's the taking the time and energy to come up with a great concept. That's what takes the most time. And then after you come up with the great concept, because of what you know your desired end is, because you know who it is that you're trying to connect with and what you're trying to make them feel and what you want them to do, having that as you start off, then all the other stuff lines up. And then it's not a wonder that you're able to create content that really engages people and creates tension that isn't resolved unless they watch and see the resolution in the video. I think what you were describing is the necessary homework and envisioning that business people need to do to be successful, period, but certainly online, both in terms of the content that you create and in terms of the funnel that you build to present your value to the customers that you wish to serve.
Absolutely.
What if I'm just getting started? What's my first step? What's the first thing I need to figure out how to do online?
Oof, let's see. So I think pretty much what you were saying, like look at the end goal. Like what is it that you want to do? And hopefully it's you're looking for ways to how you're going to serve your audience. If you're just looking like, man, what can I do to get people to give me a ton of money?
Hmm.
I think the money is just the byproduct. It's just going to happen. So
Hmm.
I think you need to figure out who do you want to serve, what are their needs, are you capable of giving them what they need to like for those needs, and then you start like you're saying, okay, let me start working backwards. How can I like what do I start with in order to eventually reach those people? So me, because again, I am the funnel guy. Like I'll like immediately, I'm like, okay, what do I say on my funnel, and what do I offer? You know, what's like if you like if you think of Russell Brunson and all these marketers, they always talk about hook, story, offer.
Okay, so for those who don't know, Russell Brunson is the founder of,
ClickFunnels.
right? Okay.
Mhm. And he's very big on talking about hook, story, offer. Like once you know who you want to serve, you need to come up with your hook, story, offer. And again, these aren't methods to trick people. It's just what the correct steps you need to do in order to reach those people and be of service to them. So if you think of a hook, it's kind of like what we were talking about at the beginning of of our conversation here. Think of a hook as like a fishy hook. What grabs attention, right? So
Hmm.
your hook needs to be something that like interrupts, like they call it like a pattern interrupt. Like if they're scrolling through Facebook, not doing anything, there's like, huh, what's this? What hooks them, right?
Hmm.
Then your story has to be something that makes them to want to learn more,
Okay.
right? And obviously, if you're going after a specific audience, your story should relate to them. They should relate to it. Then your offer is basically something that's going to be of service to them, right?
Hmm.
So to answer your question, like if you're starting out, look at who you want to serve,
Okay.
then figure out the ways and actions you're going to take in order to be of service to them, right?
Okay.
So, and the easiest way to do that is if you keep that hook, story, offer in mind, because your hook is going to make you really think about, okay, what am I going to do to get their attention?
Okay.
Not in I'm going to put this colorful picture out there just to get anyone's attention. No, something that touches their heart, that
Okay.
speaks to the situation that they're in. You know,
Hmm.
obviously, if you have something to speak to the situation, you most likely have a story to provide that they're going to relate to, and you're going to relate to them. So be willing to put your story out there. That's another thing. We were kind of talking about this before getting recording about if you have a story and you think it could reach other people and help them, it's your responsibility to share that story.
Hmm.
It's if something happened to you, it's I think you have to get through it so you can share that story in order to be a blessing to others. And then once they see your story, what are you going to offer them that's going to be of value to them?
I think that will be our closing thought, and I hope that you'll be willing to have another interview with me because I really want to talk about your journey establishing the Nikupreneur um, brand and why you wanted to establish that in terms of the situation that your family went through. Um, I'm excited to talk about that, but what you just landed on, and I would say that the Lord brought that to your mind. I think that's the most important thing that we need to leave people with today. I know for myself, I've gone through painful situations and been frustrated by them, but then I had godly people around me remind me that those situations are giving me insight and wisdom, though I didn't want them, that will be such a blessing to help so many other people.
Mm-hmm.
And that I actually am able to be blessed and mentored and tutored by people like yourself or other people who have had other experiences and gained wisdom from them and then now share it with me. And it is a responsibility for those of us who have something in our hearts that we feel like we should be sharing to go ahead and step out in faith and get our beauty, our passion, our vision, our value out there, because that's what we were created to do.
Mm-hmm.
What when I feel discouraged because it's harder than I expected, what is it that you say that we can do to encourage ourselves to take our message and make it available to others?
I think it's, again, realizing and accepting that it is your responsibility to get through whatever it is that you're going through, because it's not about you. It's because there's something so big about it that it's going to be a blessing to others. And even though I know you're like thinking about this story, I'll actually, if we have time, I'll kind of give you two that really like I could talk to you about personally. But I mean, but if you think about, I think like when we're going through really strong things, it can even happen when you're a child. I think there's, again, because most of your audience are believers, so you understand what I'm saying. Like, I think the enemy from very early stages is going to try to block you from a lot of things. Like an example, we were recently talking to my father-in-law and his wife, and she was talking about her granddaughter, that when her daughter was pregnant with her, they were having, like complications, and the doctors since day one were trying to get them to have to end the pregnancy. Similar to my story, but we'll get down there later. And attacking her, putting fear in her, saying that she was going to have all these type of conditions, and she's going to be a burden on you, et cetera, et cetera. Long story short, that girl is now, I don't think she's a teenager yet, she mentioned, but it's basically her whole life, she's perfectly fine. Wow. All she wants to do is sing and glorify God.
Wow.
That's all she wants to do. She's obsessed with it. Wow. And I think there's going to be things that you're meant to do. And I'll actually get into what I mentioned that I was going to mention as part of my story that isn't this. This is something you haven't heard, and I'll keep it very brief, but it's actually one of my most personal things that I've barely spoken about it because I haven't had the opportunity to, but I know I'm going to more and more because God told me, and I'll explain to you how. My entire life up to not very long ago, definitely my childhood, my teenage years and early adult years, I was a very miserable person because of one thing. I could not speak without stuttering.
Wow.
Bad. It controlled my life. It consumed my life. It developed this crazy amounts of self-hatred in me since I was a kid. That if I look back at my childhood, I didn't need anything. My parents gave me everything. Technically, I had a happy childhood. I hate it. Because of that. There's nothing worse than not being able to communicate and being self-conscious about it and everything, right? Yeah. Like I knew what it was to be on the phone with someone and them not know that on the other end of the call, I was bleeding from my mouth because I had punched myself so hard in the mouth out of frustration because I couldn't get my words out. I know what it was to be in high school with having a girlfriend, and he wanted to take her to the movies and wanting to do the right thing and call her father and be like, hey, I want to take your daughter to the movies. And him just like, wait. If my daughter doesn't be with anyone, they're going to at least be with someone that could speak like a man, not all this stuttering thing and just leave me like on hold. So long story short with that, something that is like, I know now that was holding me back. When I was 16, that girl, and I mentioned that girl, I don't care anymore. It's like what they call like puppy love, right? But anyway, she had broken my heart, right? And I was miserable. And the church that we were in, because she was part of that church, there was this huge event happening where a ton of other churches were gonna go to like this camp thing. Hundreds and hundreds, probably if not 1,000 people were like there, right? Yeah. I didn't want to go. I was embarrassed. I was miserable, and my mom, begged me to go and convinced me to go. About the third or fourth day of this camp thing, a ton of people there. This preacher I had never seen in my life, never met him or anything. He called everyone to go up to the front, right? To just pray for how churches do. And I really felt I wanted to go up, right? And I'm standing there. There's a ton of people. a ton of churches, so it's a lot of people. And I'm just there waiting with my eyes closed, and I feel him praying to the person for the person next to me. And I really feel the presence of God, right? And then, okay, so I'm next. Skips me, goes to the other person. This went on for close to 2 hours. Finally, I'm trying not to get choked up. All of a sudden, I feel him. And dude, like I'm telling you, like to this day, I have never felt the presence of God more than in that moment. Still to this day, I was 16 years old. I'm 36 now. I have yet to feel the presence of God like at that moment. So real. The person's breath, everything, it just changed. I know it wasn't him anymore. All of a sudden, I'm like there with my eyes closed, and he grabs me by the arm, like walks me up, guides me up to the stage, turns me around, and he's like, "Why did I leave you for last?" And I'm just crying my eyes out, right? And I'm like, I don't know, but my subconscious was like, I already knew what it meant, but I just didn't dare to think it or say it. And he screams at me, man, "Stop lying. Why did I leave you for last?" And I still didn't dare to check. And he just like tells me, "Open your eyes." And he's in front of me, right? And it's so weird because at that moment, all I remember is like a silhouette of this person.
Huh.
It's the craziest thing ever. He moves out of the way, and all he tells me is like, "You better get used to the idea of seeing people from this point of view."
Wow.
And just left it at that. He didn't even pray for me. He just told me to get off the stage. And that was when I was 16. And it's always been heavy on my mind. But later on, throughout becoming an adult and everything, what led me to I guess you could say not stuttering, even though sometimes it does happen. It's whatever. What led me to that, like years later, was I was actually at a business conference, and it was this one specific product, which I'm not going to mention right now or anything, but it was basically I saw people talking and crying their eyes, like how it saved their life and everything. And honestly, I was there because I wanted to learn how to make money. But when I saw that, I'm like, I told God, I'm like, "God, I've been making this about me." And my biggest fear about this is like, how am I going to make money if I can't even dare to talk to people because I'm ashamed of my stuttering? And from there on, I told him, I'm going to remove myself from the equation. I'm not going to make it about me. And regardless of how I sound, I'm going to pursue this because I want to impact people's lives, regardless of how it is.
Wow.
And that same day, later on, I'm talking to someone. I actually told them about this, and they look at me and they're like, "What are you talking about? You haven't stuttered once."
Wow.
Yeah. And I sat back and I'm like, "Oh my God, you're totally right." I'm like, "I haven't." And from there on, I definitely looked into methods and how to improve it and everything, to really work on it. But till that moment, and that was not very long ago at all. And it brings me back to what I'm saying, that I feel like, where God is, it's your responsibility to share your message and understand that when you're going through difficult things, it's not about you. You are privileged to be going through it because God wants to use you as a tool that's going to bless so many lives, that you need to look at it in a way like, how dare I not work through this? I can't give up, because at the end of it, not only am I going to succeed, but I need to talk about it. So that was kind of where we kind of ended up here, but yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. What a revelation. God brought you to a place where it wasn't about you.
Mm-hmm.
And he delivered you from your impediment that was reinforced because you just kept so much focused on yourself and not on being able to serve others. But now, as you've changed, God is just opening up opportunities for you to serve more and more.
Absolutely.
And healing you. Well, my brothers and sisters, if that testimony don't do it for you, I don't know what will. God has something special to do in your life, with your life, through you. it'll be a blessing to you, and sure enough, will be a blessing to those around you. But it's about you being a willing vessel to serve. I want to thank you, Tim, for not only telling us about landing pages and funnels, but helping us to realize that change is really about focusing in on how we can serve others and doing what's necessary for them to be able to find out how much value we can serve them with.
Absolutely.
Please.
It's no, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. And again, as like I think I mentioned Myron Golden like 10 times already, but yesterday I was at his studio. He has
Yes.
like his office and everything. And he
Yes.
was talking about like when you don't know what to do, how do you pray? And it made so much sense. It's basically like a lot of people are confused. They think that you're supposed to serve God and please people. And it's the whole opposite. He's like, if you want to do things right, just your prayer needs to be, God, how can I do these things? How can I pursue these things in a way that pleases you and serves people? And I think that's the biggest thing. It's like God doesn't need your service. He doesn't need you to serve him. He needs you to please him. He's worthy of it, you know? And I think you moving out of your way and just moving forward in whatever situation you are. And sometimes it may sound easier than done, but I've been in some situations, which we'll get into, but how do I please God? And please guide me in how to be of service to people. And I think that's the biggest thing, is getting through whatever hurdle you're going through. To please God and praise God through any situation. Because everything's good when it's good.
Yeah.
Praise God, right? When everything's going fantastic and the money's good, the situation, you're just chilling in life. But praise God too when things are tough, because there's a reason for it, man.
Wow. Okay, I need this today. Well, thank you, Tim, very much for your transparency and this godly wisdom that you've shared with us.
Thank you.
Please remind my audience where they can connect with you again.
Yeah, on Instagram, probably the best one. I just, believe it or not, I haven't been messing with Instagram very long. So just go to, but yeah, it's just I was very quiet for a long time. But yeah, just look up for @DQpreneur and you'll find me there. Or you can just do Tim Pitsenbarger. Kind of harder to spell.
And if they want to take you up on that wonderful offer you mentioned earlier, where can
they? Just go to funnelpit.com/DavidG.
Funnelpit.com/DavidG.
Mm-hmm. And then you can get on the waiting list. It should be done in a couple of weeks. Yeah.
Okay. Wonderful. Well, thank you so very much for taking time out of your busy schedule to come hang out with my community. We're very grateful for the insight that you gave us, and we invite you to come back and share some more on another occasion.
Absolutely. We'll talk about what an EQpreneur is.
Yes, absolutely. And you'll be happy to know that it may be the next, I think your podcast your episode will drop right before it, but I already taped. We met Catherine Norland from the Darman, the actress from the Darman series. And I think that you influenced our interview. Part of it, she shared a little bit about her journey, just a little bit. She didn't share much, but I thought to myself, you would have been proud of her. And
that's awesome.
I'm looking forward to having you come back. All
Absolutely.
Right, family, thank you so much for your time, and I look forward to seeing you here again. Have a great day and keep loving people, pleasing God, and serving them.